Let's go.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? It's Sports Dad, and you already know what time it is. It is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are in our live session. And we're making it happen on this Thursday night at the end of another week. Weather hasn't been too bad, and it's actually expected to be pretty good tomorrow. So let's enjoy the weather while we can. You know, we living in Michigan. You already know what time it is. But thanks for tuning in. And as we go on, I'm expecting more people to join. But more importantly, those of you that are checking the video out afterwards, make sure you subscribe and share the actual content. Hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when we're posting new information. So it's been a really good week. It's been actually a really good week. I'm hoping that you had a great week as well. And we are going to get into it today. This is a totally transparent session. And like I said, it's going to be a little raw and it's going to be very realistic. So if you are not in a situation where you can, you can't take being raw and real and things like that, you're in the wrong place. Because at the end of the day, my job is to talk about the recruiting process and every aspect of it and things that can affect it and things that can be detrimental to the areas of recruiting. So, but yeah, it's been a really good week, and I wanted to. So for years and years, I've been talking with my wife about having a pet or whatnot, and of course, she wasn't with it because she felt that the responsibility would fall on her, and things like that. Well, recently she had a change of heart. And so I took advantage of that and I jumped right on it. And the most part is that, she's a dog lover. She had, a lot of dogs growing up and things like that. So it wasn't the fact that, she didn't like dogs. She loved dogs. And so, but now, so we actually are in the process of adopting a dog. I want to introduce him to you guys. I'll share my screen real fast and just show you real quick and kind of hopefully you guys can see my screen. Yeah, you can. Okay. Let's do this. Minimize it and then let's make it bigger. All right, Rolo is his name. There's the little guy. Oh man, there's the little guy that's my new pet. Now, he's supposed to be my anniversary pet, but however, I know that is unrealistic. As you can see, there are hands that are petting the dog, which are my children, and they are in love with this little guy. And so he's a pit bull terrier, mastiff mix. So he's going to be a pretty big dog, but he definitely fits our family. And, and we fell in love with them right away. I've been watching, in my subdivision, I noticed that there was a couple that was walking the dog, and then we stopped and started having a conversation, and they told me about this place called I Heart Dogs. And, and basically it's a spot where they, take in dogs through rescue and things like that, and all types of animals, actually, not just dogs. And so I was checking their site every day, and they get a lot of dogs and things like that, puppies and stuff. And so I saw this guy out, and I put in an application for him. And so we're in the process. We're actually at the tail end, and all I'm waiting on is my house visit, and my adoption representative is probably watching the live too, because I told her that I will be sharing I will be sharing a picture of, a video of Rolo. Look at my kids. Listen, yes, sir. Look at this. Look at this. um, yep. See, thank you. Thank you. Congrats, bro. Definitely a dog family. Great. You did rescue. Yes, sir. And so, but Andrea, he didn't call me. And so, she's been patient with me. I've been blowing up her phone and, sending emails and things like that. But we're at the tail end and we're hoping to have this whole situation wrapped up, by tomorrow or whatnot. And hopefully we'll have them this weekend. And so, so this is the new addition to the Harris family household. His name is Rolo. And we can't wait to have him. We got him all set up. We got his crate out there. I got to go pick up his food tonight. I got the okay from Andrea to go do that. So it is on and popping. This is our new family member, guys. So if you're in the comment section, make sure that you subscribe and check out the YouTube channel. And if you are actually leaving a comment on my Facebook, I can't see it for some reason in here. So you actually have to go to my YouTube live and actually leave your comment. So, but yeah, I'm excited. So this is our puppy, and those of you know that I've come a long way with dogs and things like that. And so my family is super excited. And as you can see, throughout the video, he warmed up to us. He warmed up to us throughout the video, and it just seemed like a good fit. It just seemed like a good fit. So those of you that are in the chat, you are dog owners, show me some love right now. Send something, send me some emojis, words of encouragement, or whatnot. But yeah, this is it. And we are super, super duper pumped about this little guy. It was really hard for us to leave. I'm gonna tell you that now. It was really hard for us to leave. But when I saw him on the on the website, and it was just, he fits. He looked exactly like he did on the website. And so we're excited to have him. And, so hopefully we'll have him this weekend. Yay. All right. So that's my little guy. As you can see, it's kind of hard for me to leave right now, but hey, that's that. Yes. Rolo is his name. Rolo is his name. The new addition to the Harris boys, the Harris household. And we're excited about that. All right. Yeah. And so that's great news. It's just been a overall great week. And I really thank those guys at I Heart Dogs for showing Matt love and actually allowing me an opportunity, allowing me an opportunity to be able to adopt a doggy. And I'm super excited about that. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for, believing in us. And just so you guys know, it was it was definitely a long process. And the thing is that too, I had to realize that there were a lot of people that were putting in there were a lot of people that were putting in for animals. So as you can see, like they have a lot of dogs and things like that, cats and stuff like that. But yeah, they were putting in a lot of applications. And so and a lot of applications was received for Rolo. And, and she reviewed all the applications and I got moved to the top 3. And it was just a process. I got interviewed for it. And, I felt like I was interviewing for a job, which I am technically, but it works just like you're adopting a human. And they want to make sure that the dog is going to have a good home. And I'm excited about that. So every day, I would literally go to this site and I would check out and I would go to dogs and I would go baby. And then I would hit go, and then it would show me what dogs are available. Sometimes it showed a blank, which means that they don't have any, puppies. But I saw at one point they had some puppy huskies there. And then I saw the pit terriers and the mastiff mix. And me and my daughter, we've been conspiring behind the scenes, watching the site every day. So, but I know you guys are ready to get into it. So let's get into some recruiting. Let's shift a little bit. Let's get into some recruiting. Once again, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And because right now we're in the process of actually trying to hit 500 subscribers. We hit 300. Yay! I told you guys, and I couldn't have done it without you. So great job. And now we are rocking and rolling. We are rocking and rolling. If you want to donate to this channel, because once again, I am, I'm always working for you guys. Just make sure that you actually send all donations to the Cash App below, and that definitely adds a benefit so that we can actually go after those good quality interviews or whatnot, and do a little bit more, because I'm looking to expand this whole thing. I got some merch that's coming real soon, so stay tuned for that. And and so we're making it happen. So today, I also want to celebrate too, since we're talking about recruiting. It was like I said, it was a really, really good day. A really good day overall today, and for the Harris family, and I want to report that my son, my youngest son, I don't really talk about him much, but at some point I'm going to share his story from beginning to end, because it's really it really gets deep with this kid. But and we're going to talk about it at some point. But as you can see, he got his first offer, and his first Division I offer, actually. And he had, with Youngstown State in Ohio, and really great conversation with the coaches and things like that. And and it really happened. And so this is his first D1 scholarship. He had a pretty good season, and and hopefully this is the first of many. But this is definitely a good milestone, a good goal that he was going after, and things like that. Super focused this year. I'm super proud of him, and he made it happen. So so good job. And along with the coaching staff at Chippewa Valley, and everybody, Mind Somebody, who's been working with them behind the scenes and things like that, making it happen with the with the physical physicality, the athleticism, things like that, the speed, and his studies and stuff like that on the back end, like I explained in my prior video. So but while we're talking about that, we understand that recruiting has shifted, and recruiting has shifted in a lot of instances. Back in the day, the high schools used to have a lot to do with the recruiting aspect of things. When it comes down to basketball, it's more so the recruiting takes place through AAU, and also too, we understand that with the other organizations in the area of football, Rising Star, Mind Somebody, and things like that. It's a lot of college offers that happen through those avenues as well, and there's nothing that's wrong with it. And so but I don't want people to get it twisted, because there are still some high school coaches are taking on the mindset of, hey, well, since the recruiting is not being done through us anymore, really, right? They're not really reaching out to us anymore or whatnot, then I'm not going to worry about recruiting or whatnot. But there are other there are other high school coaches. There are some that are out there, some good ones, that are really still working behind the scenes and still taking matters into their own hands, and not depending on the outside organizations or whatnot. And kudos to you guys. And so I don't want it, to get it twisted. There are some still high school coaches that still have the connect, that still have the plug to college coaches, because they develop the relationship over time. And so I'm saying to the parents, and I'm saying to the athletes, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and keep that in mind. Even when when you're playing for your high school coach, there still should be that level of respect, right? And still should try to be that player even to your high school coach, because because the college coaches, at some point, they're going to have a conversation with them, and they're going to ask them about you, or and you just never know what connections or who your coach is connected to. A lot of them, sometimes they like to downplay this situation as well, But you just never know who they're connected to. So it behooves you as an athlete to make sure that you're always on your P's and Q's, and to always make sure that you are trying to be a great teammate, a great athlete, and a great student. And actually a great student athlete, because you're a student first, meaning that you're performing in the classroom and on the field as well. So so don't I don't want you guys to walk away and say Sports That Cephas said that the high school coaches don't really have anything to do with it. That's not necessarily true. Like I said, there are some high schools that are grinding behind the scenes, and Chippewa Valley is one of them. So yes, sir. The floodgates have opened. Yes, sir. And thanks for all the love too. So I wanted to. So that's one of the items that I really wanted to talk about today. And I really wanted to have a transparent type situation today. And like I said, it's really getting ready to get raw. And we're gonna hit this conversation, and then we're gonna get out of here. I wanted to talk about relationships. And I kind of hit on it in my last video, but I want to kind of talk about relationships, because what happens is that it's very natural for kids, teenagers and things like that to like each other. That's just the world that we live in. It's a no-brainer. But of course, when I was growing up, it was a little bit different, and now it's even more different. And I'm really being nice when I say different, but it's really more different nowadays. And the kids are faced with so much more temptation. And so if you were trying to really do this, and I really got a real eye opener when I saw, my son Cephas this season, when it really kicked off, to see how much he was involved in, and things like that. I'm like, dude, these kids don't really have time for, don't have time for a girlfriend. And I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. You really don't have time for that. And I see it, at the high schools, and, with the teenagers and things like that. They want to be booed up and stuff like that. But you really don't have time. Just don't have the time, because, you got your school, you go on your school, they're loading you with homework. And you got to make sure that you're on top of your studies, right? Then to be able to maintain that 3-point or higher. Then on top of that too, you have your athletics, they're practicing like crazy. And when you get home, you're probably dog dead tired, but you still got to do your homework. And if you're involved in any other extracurricular activities, such as tutoring and, or involved with, a somebody or something like that, you definitely going to be busy in the afternoon. Sometimes there are film sessions that are happening. It's just so much that's going on. Like, how do you have time, right? And what happens is that in a relationship, boy and girl, they want your time. And so, which means that something is going to get the short end of the stick, right? Something is going to get the short end of the stick eventually, whether it be your sleep, whether it be your studies, whether it be your athletics. Something's going to get a short end of the stick. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because, I want to cause you guys to think. There's nothing wrong with, liking someone, or someone liking you, and you having feelings for someone and things like that. But it's important to keep the focus and make sure that you keep those things in perspective and say, like, hey, we're, understand that, I got these things going on, right? And I understand that you got these things going on. So, I can't get really upset when you're not available. Like, I want you to be available, because I understand that you're working on a goal, right? I understand that. And now, if it's, you guys just liking each other, and that's just one thing. But if you're trying to really like this person and have a relationship with them, then you might want to start thinking, because at some point, your time is going to be allocated somewhere. And if it's done properly, then great. But if it's not done properly, then you're defeating the whole purpose, period. So I know it's a natural thing, but that's something that you have to think about, and something that you have to work out as athletes, because at the end of the day, yeah, having a girlfriend is important, but really, is it important really at this stage in your in your life where it's super important, where you're trying to build a good foundation for yourself? Or is that something that you should work on down the line after you solidified yourself? And then just have friends along the way, nothing serious. That's something that's pulling on you and trying to take your time away from the goal at hand. I hope that makes sense. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is pornography. I said it. You right. I said it. I want to talk about pornography. All right. Stay away from it as long as you possibly can. Stay away from it forever if you can. Because when you look at these stories with these colleges, with these sex scandals and things like that, from the coaches all the way down to the players, right? The girls are coming out of the woodwork saying that they were, sexually assaulted in some way, shape, or form. It's just not a good look. And we see this stuff happening over and over again to athletes, right? And at the college level. And so those of you guys that are in high school right now, if you're seeing that now, learn from it, and don't become a person that's going to be in a situation where your name is possibly going to be broadcast, on ESPN because you was involved with this type of stuff. You know what I mean? So, but how does that happen, right? How does this stuff happen? I'm a firm believer that it happens at an early age with pornography. And I think this is a conversation that needs to happen, because it's like I said, it's not like when people that are in my generation, they were growing up. Back then, we had to get VHSs, right? And so and those were hard to come by. It was just like that was the situation. But now you have your trusty cell phone, right? And you have it at your fingertips, right? And so when you watch that stuff, it puts you in a different state of mind, makes you even more curious to the point where you want to act, right? And then it raises the sexuality concept, the whole sexuality, the search, the mental. It raises all. I mean, it raises that, and so and that's how people get caught up. I don't think that a person that that have been accused of raping someone, I don't think that they grew up and said, hey, I want to be a rapist. They probably got exposed to something, right? And they couldn't shake it. And now they have this issue. That's how issues start, right? So you have to be very, very careful. So my advice is to stay away from it. Stay away from it. If you possibly can, stay away from it. Because, it could really destroy you. It really destroy you. And that is what is happening to a lot of our young athletes. It's just sad. I hear all these high school stories and things like that, where girls that didn't necessarily, the guy didn't necessarily do it, but they lied, but then end up getting convicted anyway. But the thing is that you were put in a position. So, you got to be mindful and smart. I think at one point too, I know it was an NBA player that talked about that too, Lamar Odom, and, whether he's doing it now for, just to share his story to help other people or what, but he was one of those guys, you know what I'm saying? And so like, if you have that issue, get that in check, because that could lead you down the wrong road. And at the end of the day, I'm tired of seeing, stuff like that on the news, with young guys and at the at the college level. I know it's exciting to, when you're going off to college and, you basically, you don't have anyone to answer to outside of your coaches and things like that, who are not always with you 24/7. So you have a level of freedom that you probably never experienced before when you were at home. So now that you have that freedom, you got to kind of be careful with that. And so, but when you watch, the old folks used to say that your eyes is the window to your soul. So if that stuff is getting in you and being planted, then, you don't know in what way, shape, or form is going to come out. Right. So I'm trying to help somebody. I'm just trying to help you guys, because these are the things that we don't talk about. Pete, we don't talk about. Yeah, it's a natural thing to, as a teenager, to want to have sex. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, you got to be smart and you got to think about these things. When I was growing up in health and stuff like that, we talked about stuff like that. I don't know how it's, how you guys are talking about these things in high school now in health, but probably not. But they showed us this stuff. They showed us sexually transmitted diseases and stuff like that and how it looks, and it kind of scared the crap out of you, to a certain degree. But I just don't like seeing our young athletes being derailed because they made this mistakes, because mistakes will happen, right? But try to stay away from this one because it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. You're hearing bad stories, whether it's true or not, and it's just not good. And so my heart goes out to the athletes and things like that, because these kids are in the fight of their lives, and the temptation as young athletes now is worse, 10 times worse than it's ever been. And and it's hard. It's not easy turning down those Snapchat messages that you get. It's not easy, turning down, conversations that you may be getting from, another young lady. Now, and I'm going to say this too. It used to be where, parents were raising their children, especially the young ladies, to keep themselves and, try to remain virgins until they become married. But it just seemed like that's not happening anymore, and so it has become very, very easy for our young athletes to get in trouble, and we gotta keep that in mind. Have those conversations with your kids. Don't be afraid to have those conversations with your kids. Remind them to be smart. Remind them to be safe. Remind them to stay away from the dark side, I call it, which is pornography, because it's almost merely impossible for a person to have a level of control, at with a young mind and watching that stuff. So you got to be smart. So that's all I wanted to really highlight you guys about today. That is it. I told you I'll be finished, about 7:30. I originally supposed to have had the offensive coordinator for Chippewa Valley come on today, but he had a pretty full schedule with a whole lot that's going on. So we'll probably try to get it in on next week. And so I know you guys probably have questions for him and things like that, because I got some questions for him too. From a quarterback perspective and from an offensive coordinator perspective as well. So because it's a lot that really goes into it. And another thing I want to say too, while we're in here, and before I let everybody go, this is what this platform is about. I am not afraid to talk about the things that that we know exist, right? And speaking of quarterbacks and things like that, I was having a conversation with the coach this week, and we got into since the world that we're living in, it's all about race and things like that. That's happening, and it's a topic that you just can't escape. But we started talking about sports and how it shows up in sports sometimes and things like that. And he was just he asked the questions like, well, why we don't see, and this is about to be a controversial, I don't know, but I don't know if Joel and Andrea's still in here, but what he said is that he's like, it's really hard for Black quarterbacks, right? And and he made a valid statement, and so I gave my feedback on it, about the situation about Black quarterbacks. First of all, the quarterback position, it is a very, very, and I want to hear from you guys. If you guys want to talk about this, we can. But quarterback is a very detailed position. It is a position that requires a high IQ. It's a position that quarterbacks has to be the smartest guy on the field. I like to look at it as a symphony, right? A symphony, or a person that's orchestrating a symphony orchestra, right? And you have the instructor, before he raises his hand and before he sends them into motion to start, everybody start playing. He's looking around, he's making sure that everybody is ready to go, and everybody's all good with their music and things like that. And then they begin to play. As they begin to play, he's making adjustments, right? He's making adjustments. So that quarterbacks is it's the same thing. And so it's a difficult situation. So but it for, and I even heard it on ESPN, but from time to time it's a situation where you we don't really, it's really kind of difficult for a black quarterback, and there's a stigma in the NFL that normally that black quarterbacks don't really do too well because they're just athletic, and they can't really stand in the pocket and throw, and and the IQ piece is missing, right? So, well, I mean, that's just the feedback that comes with that. And so understand, if you are an athlete, right, or if athletes that's inspiring to be a quarterback, if you are coaching you in here, and if you're an athlete in here and you're inspiring to be an athlete, a quarterback, then be a quarterback. Understand that quarterback is not all about throwing and it's not all about running. A large percentage of the quarterback position is having the mental capacity for the game, and your IQ, right? Having a high IQ. And so you have to put that work in it. That's why you would see quarterbacks at the college level who dominated. Then after that, they go to Gruden's camp, right? I don't think that they do that anymore because Coach Gruden, he's a coach now, but he always was a coach, but he's coaching, and but he will put them through a series of videos and situations and ask them, what would you do in this situation? Because he want to understand, he want to see their mental and see if they understand this stuff. And because it's like science, it's really like science. And so, so at the end of the day, like, you really have to make sure that you put in the work. You really got to make sure that you put in the work to be in a position, to be able to put yourself to have success in the quarterback position. And I think that's where we're failing, even at the young, for youth football, things like that. We don't really challenge these guys to push pass. It's more than just running and throwing the football. We're not really trying to train these guys to be quarterbacks. And so I'm glad Andy will be on next week, because we'll have a conversation about it, because he does train quarterbacks and he literally stretches their mind and really force them to think and develop a high level IQ for football, which is why, that most quarterbacks that play at Chip, they have large, a lot of success, because, he understands that element of it. Let's see. Looks like we got a comment here. What you got? Let's see. Okay. Learn the offense inside and out. Learn how to read the coverage. Yeah, coverages. Learn how to see things before it happen. Yeah, before they happen, and know what you see. Know what you see. I need my glasses. Pre-snap, and why you might see post-snap. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm glad, Joe from the Sports Academy show. I'm glad he posted that, because it's true. But if you don't want to be a part of that, what do they call it? A part of the prejudged, things about being an athlete, especially specifically, a black athlete at the quarterback position, then you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work to be smart at that position, and know your stuff and know the lingo, the terminology, and have a high IQ for that position, period. Because it's a lot of pressure that comes with that. But if you don't want to be a part of that conversation, then those are the things that we have to do. The great ones are great because of their mental ability. Yep. They've seen everything. When you watch games and watch and listen to what the good QBs do pre-snap. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's 100%. So, because at the end, of the day, I see a lot of, there are a lot of talented quarterbacks that are out there, and especially in Michigan. Oh my goodness. These guys are just flat out just talented, but you don't really see a lot of the quarterbacks getting those offers and things like that, and things like that. But part of it is because, of that mental capacity. You gotta be special. You gotta be special to play the quarterback position. You gotta be special. special. It's a ton of pressure. It's not for the faint at heart, and you have to have a football IQ. And you got to know where everybody belongs. I mean, that's why I was hoping that we get Andy on today, because he really does an excellent job at that, and he knows how to work with and develop quarterbacks. And so, um, but that's the thing. And if you are serious about being a quarterback, my suggestion would be is to do your research on a high school and go to a school where they're actually allowing quarterbacks to be quarterbacks, right? You know, it make no sense. I said it last week. Don't make no sense of going to a school that don't predominantly throw the ball, and because that's not going to allow you to grow. So because these quarterbacks nowadays, you got to be able to sling it. You got to be able to sling it, man. You have to be able to sling it. So I wanted to talk about that and encourage you guys to not just worry about the physical aspect of things, but the mental. And that goes for all athletes in all positions. Don't just worry about, the physical part of things, but what about the football IQ? Are you developing the football IQ to the point where you understand where you belong and where others belong? You know what I mean? Like, are you understanding the game and the concept of the game? Is it really unfolding to you? Because I'm going to tell you, like, for me, for basketball, a lot of things didn't really make sense until I became older. And then I'm looking at that. Now I'm looking at it from a coaching perspective. And I'm like, but if you could develop that at a young age, and have an actual football IQ. And I love those programs that are putting time and effort into your kids and to making sure that they're having an actual football IQ, because it helps them when they go to the next level. I can't tell you how many times my boys said that, being at Chippewa helped them with, understanding things at Wayne, because they were already talking the terminology, and the lingo is something that they didn't have to learn because they already knew it. And so you want to really get with these high schools that are actually running a college style program. And so it doesn't get any better than that. Is the dual threat QB taking over? I think it is. And I think it is. I think it is. And I also think that I also thought that it was on the verge of taking over too, being of heading in that direction when Michael Vick was playing as well. But because of his situation, we all know what happened. But Michael Vick was a prime example of that, right? And he could throw, but predominantly he ran the ball. He ran. He was crazy with his legs. It's kind of like, but now we're seeing that these guys are taking it to the next level. Not only are they being crazy with their legs, but they can actually, if they need to stand back there and sling it, they can sling it. But the combination of two, if you have the legs and you can throw too, that's phenomenal. But it doesn't hurt neither to be able to stand, in the pocket and learn how to play the quarterback from that perspective. Because to be honest with you, that is the way that the game is actually supposed to be played. And here's the reason why I say that is because, football is a very vicious sport. And if those dogs get a hold of you, they're going to rip you from limb to limb. And Michael Vick, he took a lot of hits, broken ribs, everything. And, these guys, now Russell Wilson, I think he's a really good example of that, right? I think because he has a great mix. So I think he has figured it out, and he has a great balance of staying in the pocket and getting outside of the pocket and knowing when to do it and knowing how to, slide and not take a hit and things like that. If you can master those things, then you can last. And I think that's how Russell Wilson has been able to last. And so now I think that, and he has created that avenue for a lot of these new quarterbacks that are coming in, because now they're not really looking, to really take hits and things like that. They're trying to get out of bounds. They're sliding in, so that they can last. And that's how you got to do it. Like, what's the guy? I always screw his name up, but the guy from Alabama who had the hip injury, I don't know. I don't want to butcher his name, but he just came back, lefty quarterback for the Dolphins. And, his first game, he was taking some hits. And so he's going to have to learn, not to take those hits. But if he gets outside of that pocket, you at the NFL level now, they lay a hit on you, that could be a hit that can take you out. So that's why I say that, learning the game, learning that quarterback position the right way, being able to stand back there in the pocket and throwing and taking a hit, back there in the pocket, that is fundamentals that I believe that every quarterback should possess. And then as they grow, mentally in their knowledge, I think, I think that then they can start adding the other element of, mixing it up, running and things like that, because now they have that IQ and that mindset of, hey, standing back in the pocket, I can rip you from here. Or, if pocket breaks down, then I can make a play. But then I know when to go down. I know how to get out of bounds. I know how to avoid. I know how to last, period. In a nutshell. So let's see. Do a threat QBs is trending right now. Yeah. I don't know why you guys look. I feel like I'm passing messages. I don't know why you guys just didn't come on the show. Y'all know what time it is. Rusty Sean Kyler redefining the position. Yep. Tua. That was his name. Yeah. What you think, Dre? What do you think? We'll hear from you, and then I'll shut it down. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to come on and hit on those few topics and keep you guys updated. And we're gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna pick things back up with the interviews as well. And I'm gonna be doing some more interviews on the side. I'm just trying to set it up and make it happen. And I'll keep you guys posted. But also too, I want to I'm super thankful to the audience, because I noticed that the audience has been growing. On my on my Twitter feeds has been been growing and things like that. And young athletes are starting to follow and get encouraged, and that's what it's all about. That's what we wanted to know. My desire is to be able to develop some relationships with some colleges too, because like I said, it's a lot of players that I talk to on a regular basis, parents too, and asking me if I can help in any way, shape, or form. And so if I could develop a relationship and and pass their information on or whatever, I would definitely use my platform for that. He said, I said I was available. You did. But I wanted to talk about the whole youth sport aspect thing though, so, but yeah. Any other questions, comments y'all want to talk about? Dre, you asked the question, but you didn't really hit on it. So I didn't know if you wanted to hit on that or whatnot, or chat a little bit, so let me know what you think, and I would like to hear from you. Let's see. All right. Let's see. I love Justin Fields. All right, here we go. So here's what we're gonna do, and we'll just let these guys. Hopefully they're available. If they are available, then we'll let these guys close us out. But I'm sending you guys an invite right now. So if you're available, just jump on real quick. And if you're an athlete, you got questions, or you're a parent, you got questions, and you want to jump on, or you want to talk or whatever, and you don't want to hit a comment in the message, just say, hey, invite me or whatnot, and and I'll let you come on. All right, let's see. Dre says, I love Justin Fields. OSU, dual threat guy. I love evolution of the black QB. Not just versatile, but intelligent. Okay. Excellent. And that's the goal, because once again, I don't want them to just look at, black athletes and just say, hey, these guys are good, for their physical abilities, but or athleticism, but these guys are smart. These guys are smart, and I like that. I like seeing that on the field. I like seeing when there's orchestration and things like that, and when they know what they're actually talking about. So yeah, I love that. Joe, what up, man? What's happening?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you really well. Yes.
All right, great. I'm in the car. I didn't even know you can get on here with a cell phone on.
Absolutely. We in the total you understand what dispensation we under, my friend?
Right. The technological age.
Dre, what up, though? We in the total you understand what he's behind.
Right.
He's behind.
Right.
Dre, what up, though?
What's up, yo? Tell Joey that we can hear the reverb in his car.
All right, my bad. Hold on.
Okay.
Dre, there you're behind a little bit though.
Tell Joey
can you hear me?
Can hear the reverb in his car.
All right, my bad. Hold on.
Okay.
Dre, you're behind a little bit though.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, but it's like you're getting my messages like 30 seconds later.
Oh, my bad.
Can you hear me now? Are you getting them?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so you getting them live now? Oh, good, excellent. 30 seconds later.
Now I'm gonna hop back out and hop back in.
All right, I'm here now.
Okay. Yeah, he's dealing with the connection issue. He's gonna jump back on because I was like, you're getting my messages 30 seconds later. But yeah, I mean, like, I was just talking about that, and I was gonna, I didn't want to. I just thought about that because I was, we were talking about that. I was talking about that with a coach, and he was talking about the, being a quarterback and things like that, and how black players don't really get that break at the quarterback position. And I was explaining to him what I was just basically saying, like, that is a really intense position.
Right. I think it's important. You made a good point about, it's important that people hear people say, if you want to be a quarterback, go be a quarterback. I think that's a strong statement because you hear that stigma. That stigma's been around forever. But I think it's important. The second piece to what you said was go somewhere where they are developing that. And
right.
That's the part that's missing is, unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of those athletes, right, quote unquote athletic quarterbacks, which are typically your black quarterbacks, get the athlete label, is they're coming out of a system that doesn't require you to do much reading of a defense or anything. It's a one read throw. And if that one read isn't there, take off and run, because in most cases you're the most athletic guy on the field. Yep. And so therefore you can make plays that other guys can't make, and now you become that next phenom because of what they physically see you do, and not necessarily because of how good you are from the quarterback spot.
Wow. So talk about that a little bit. Coming from because they're coming from those programs that are not really that detailed or involved at that position, and allow them to evolve at that position mentally.
Well, I mean, you see it, like, if you go back and watch high school film on a lot of the quarterbacks that have made it to the NFL level, go back and watch the differences between what you see a young Aaron Rodgers or a young Drew Brees versus a young Cam Newton or a young Michael Vick. A lot of times what made Mike Vick amazing in high school, if you go back and hear some of the stories, was my man could throw the ball 70 yards, but when you look at his film, you see a lot of running, dodging, making people miss.
Right.
Then it doesn't catch up with you in college if you go to the right system, where a lot of air raid systems are real easy to decipher because you put defenses in positions that they really can't do anything against you but defend you one way and pray that you don't beat them. It's not until those quarterbacks get to the NFL, and we talked about this on our show, a defensive coordinator need a little bit of film on you. Once he get that film on you, he's going to figure you out. You could take Lamar Jackson. You go back to his high school film, he's running all over the place.
Right.
You look at his Louisville film, he was a one-read guy, and then he was a phenom. Once he got outside the pocket, you couldn't catch him. He's a human joystick.
Right.
His first year in the NFL, he dominated. Why? Because You couldn't stop him once he came out the pocket.
Right.
This year, they're struggling. Why? Because they're making him a passer. Not that he can't read defenses,
Right.
but that hasn't been his development. His development has been, we're going to center our offense around you to make you comfortable, which is a lot of RPO, and that way you're successful. We're not going to help you become a better mental quarterback. We're just going to frame the offense to make it easier for you mentally to be great.
Yeah.
So Dre,
am I still behind?
Go ahead, Dre.
Am I still behind? Or I'm good.
No, you're good now.
Okay. Yeah, and that's coaching too. I mean, that's you can pinpoint that directly on coaching because is that me popping?
No, go ahead. Just you good.
So the coach is directly tied to that because the unathletic quarterback, they watch all the film. They get taught how to read defenses. They get taught how to dissect defenses because they're one-dimensional. Right. The athletic black quarterback, the coaching lacks with them because it's really here's the play, here's the scheme. If it breaks down, go, like you were talking before. And they just use him all the way up until high school and and even college to that point where we don't really, doing his film work and doing his studies really isn't a focal point because he has that thing, that crutch to latch onto. And then once he gets to the NFL, it's like, man, this guy don't know how to read a defense. This guy don't know how to throw the outside routes. This guy don't know how to, go outside the numbers. So, you see or they just use him up in the run game, like a guy like RG3. Right. Once he got to the league, it was Shanahan didn't know how to use him. He never had a RPO kind of guy, so he just ran him to death until he broke both his knees. So, that's coaching too. Coaching has to take the dual threat quarterback and teach him how to play quarterback. Like you just can't pass this guy along just because he's an athlete.
So how can players avoid, like, especially inspiring quarterbacks at this level? Like, how can players avoid, getting themselves into that situation? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, at Chippewa Valley, man, like I think Andy and I was supposed to have him on today, but he'll be on next week. But that guy, like, he really. When you see him doing his sessions with other quarterbacks, because he worked with a lot of quarterbacks around Michigan, but in other sessions, he's really breaking it down and he's telling them what type of ball to throw. I didn't know that as a I didn't know that learning football that there are different type of balls, right? He's literally telling them what type of balls and telling them about the reads and stuff like that. It really gets crazy. It really gets crazy. So, but how can a quarterback, a young athlete, avoid that? We'll start with you, Joel.
I think it's important that you seek out that type of assistance. There's so much of the information available now for these young guys, but it's important that if the athlete doesn't do it, that whoever's supporting that athlete pushes that athlete in that direction. So I mean, we have athletes for children, right? And yours being older, but you didn't just sit back idly and just was a dad.
Right.
You put them in position to access additional help, additional training, additional mental capability, things like that. Same thing when they were younger and I coached them. We talked about things mentally. It wasn't just about the physical. So to your point, like you said earlier in your show, that mental side of the game, no matter what position you're in,
right,
no matter where you are on the field, no matter what sport you're in, really, is so important. So it's important that they seek that assistance out because you may not get lucky like that and go to a school that has an Andy. So then what do? You need to get involved in camps. You need to find a QB coach. If unfortunately, if you can afford one or not, it's just you got to do more. And part of it is just nowadays you got to do more to be successful in the game. When we were, like you said earlier, in our generation, it was different. It was what you did on the football field that got put on VHS, and your high school coach sent it off to the school and said, we want you to, hey, come take a look at my guy. Now it's what you do in the camps. Now it's, Are you working with a QB guy? Are you working with a speed guy? Are you working with a strength guy on the side? I'm sitting in the parking lot right now and my son is getting his speed and agility workout in and strengthening workout in, and with his sister for track. So you got to do these additional things. I think that help them, and it's information. Get on YouTube, watch the videos about reading defense, watch the videos about making those certain types of throws. Like you look at a Joe Milton at Michigan, the dude is a physical specimen. He can't throw the deep ball. He's struggling to see what's happening pre-snap because
right.
when the play breaks down, he doesn't have a natural ability to just go forth. So part of that is on the player nowadays, and part of it is on the coaching, like Dre said.
Yeah. What you think, Dre? Like, how can a player, not put themselves in that position? As far as get to that level and be like, well, I can't, I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately now it's put back into the, like Joe said, like back into the parents, back into like you got to get a coach for different things. You got to get a footwork coach. You got to get a weightlifting coach. You got to get now it's on you to help mold your student athlete. And a question I will ask y'all is because Joe, you're on the cusp of it, and dope, Brian too, and you too. See, like once you know what your kid is capable of and what position they want to play, how do you now vet whatever school they're going to? How do you vet that coach? How do you you watch tape? How do you watch tape? Like I remember earlier you were saying, if your son is a QB and he want to sling that thing, don't send him to a program that runs 90% of the time. So how do you figure that out? Because if I know my son can throw the ball, how do I weed through the BS of a guy that just wants my kid just to want my kid and put him, on the path of success?
Wow. That's a loaded question, brother. Joe, he asked you that question too. You want to hit it first?
Well, no, you should hit that first, sir. You have two college full ride athletes and one that just got a D1 offer today, and I watched you go through that process. Figuring
man.
Where to
I mean, to be honest, it's a situation to me where you got to do your research. That's one of the things that I really been promoting on this channel is that you got to do your research. When we found out that we were moving over into this area, I was doing some research. I was, I researched on Chip, I researched on Dakota. At one point, like I said on my last live, Miles and Myron were actually enrolled as ninth graders at Cass Tech. I was getting ready to sacrifice and just make that trip, whatever, to get them there. But you just got to do your research. And once I did that, asked certain parents and certain people that you already know that are attending, what you think and things like that, talking to the coach, you may not, because at the high school level, they really don't have that conversations because they're not really allowed to recruit. So they don't really want to put themselves in the situation. But if it's just a casual conversation, heck, you can even go to the high school and some high schools allow them to be a part of the high school for a day, on a visit type situation. And so they can really get a feel. But if you just want to talk to the coach and just ask some general questions, that probably is available, but those are the things that I did. But I think that in order for you to find out if your kid belongs at that particular program, or whatnot, you got to do your research. You got to watch some previous games, go on YouTube and go on Huddle and look and see, what type of offense they run and what type of defense they run or whatever. But if it's not conducive to your child, you can't put your child in that situation. And so if I'm a running back, right, and hey, I want to put my child in a good position. Hey, I know West Bloomfield, they run the ball. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to look to get them involved over there. And then on top of that too, it's a good solid program. Why? Because I've done research. So, I just think that's what it really boils down to. Just do your research.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then in addition to that, once you do your research and you put them in that program, you got to trust the coach, and you got to allow the coach to be the coach. You know, like, you know, with me, you know, that was really hard for me to do because, you know, I've been duped by a coach before, you know, in my career. And so when I tried to make sure that I put them in a good situation where I didn't have to intervene, and you know, and since we've been where we have been, you know, it's been cool. But you got to allow the coach to be the coach, and it's some situations where positions got changed, you know, and I didn't really necessarily care about that too much, but I was looking at a situation. Hey, they're not one dimensional, you know, and so at the end of the day, let them play. You know, Trey, who was predominantly a running back, coach said, hey, you know, if he playing for me, I want to move him up the slot. He saw something that I didn't see. And so once I saw him in that slot position, I said, this guy's a genius. I understand now. You know what I mean? And so, like, you just gotta, you know, trust the situation all the way around after you've done your research.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's you know, you pointed out the part about trusting. That was always interesting to watch you do that, to watch you turn them over and let the coach coach, because that was tough early on. You know, watching you go through that process of even getting burned by a coach. So I understand what you're talking about, but I wouldn't add anything additional. I think that's right on the money. You know, it's the idea of you have to do your research. Go out and watch these games. You know, every year I try to get to a few of these games and check out these teams and go online and watch some games and watch the type of systems that are being ran and the type of athletes that are going to these schools and what schools are coming up and why and are they developing kids. Like you look at the schools like Chip, Westby, Belleville, you know, like the kid on Belleville, the quarterback. He was there 2 years ago. I remember him when Chip beat them in the semifinals to get to the States. And now he's a senior, you know, and they was on the verge of getting back to Ford Field. So when you see things like that in a program, you know, it helps you learn to, you know, trust it and think that that's what's coming up. So it just boils down to doing that research. And if you still can't get an extra guy, you can't get a speed guy, you can't get all these things. You know, you said it earlier, Sports Dad. See, you gotta put the work in. You know, you may not be able to afford it, so you got to be your own speed guy. You got to be your own strength and conditioning guy. You got to be your own researcher. You know, you gotta look up schools. You know, for those athletes that are watching, it doesn't just fall on us as your parents because you may not have that access. You may not have somebody committed to drive all over the city. Like, you know, I have to be prepared to do in a couple of years if we pick a Chippewa or something like that. You know, you may not have that, so you have to make the best of your situation as you possibly can. But as parents, the research is important nowadays. Find out academically what's going on at that school, athletically what's going on at that school. It's become a process that you have to educate yourself on and get involved in.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm learning from y'all. Don't get it twisted. I'm watching everything y'all do. You know, what schools y'all pick, what coaches, how you pick the coach. You know what I'm saying? Don't think I ain't seen you in a couple sidelines, bro. I know you trying to play cool right now.
Listen, I pray for the staff at Chippewa every day. You know, you gotta keep Chippewa. They don't really know the Sports Dad. See that he will work the coaching staff.
Oh, man, don't act like you lay in the cut, bro. I done seen that walk to the sidelines.
Hey, man. Hey, listen. If you got to do, you got to do what you got to do. Youth sports is one thing, but in Cowboys, things were a little different, and you know, it wasn't a good experience for us. And so I realized as a parent, like, until I get to that situation and until I get into that solid situation, I got to be involved, whether they like me or not. And I think Joel is. I think everybody. Oh no. Yep. I think we froze. That's it. But
I can still hear you.
let's see.
You froze, Steve, but I can still hear you.
I don't know what happened there. It looks like lost the connection some way, shape. Not really sure what happened there, folks. But you do have to make sure that your child is in a good situation so you don't have to intervene. But that was a good conversation, unexpected. I didn't expect those guys to jump on like that. But feedback was good. Anybody got anything? We're getting ready to get out of here. But yeah, man, that whole situation has been a process, and the recruiting lagged me out. I appreciate the love. Oh yeah. The whole thing, it's not easy being a parent. It's not easy being, an athlete or whatever, but just, at all costs, just, if you just try to get better every time and just try to get better every day, I think you're putting yourself in a better situation. We're going to be back to the interviews, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully next week. And then we can talk a little bit more about it. And, and if you got any questions or whatnot, you know how to find me. Hit me up and we will talk a little bit more about, more about everything. But I really appreciate you guys jumping on with me tonight. It's been a pleasure. And, it's been great vibes all week, and we're going to keep it like that. And I'm passing that on to you as well. All right. Make sure y'all have a great week. There you have it, folks. Another great recruiting session in the books. Definitely there were some huge nuggets that were dropped, and hopefully you're walking away with something tangible. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we post new information. And also, too, if you want to support the channel financially, be sure to send all donations to $SportsDad CEPH, and that's also on my YouTube platform as well. Make sure that you stay tapped in. And until next time, I'm out.